Welcome to another episode of the Bullshit Filter,
We're on a roll.
episode 146. We're
Mm.
recording this on the 20th of May, Australian time, 2026. Ray, I've I've spent a lot of time, as many people have, over the last year or so, particularly since the last US presidential elections, trying to understand Trump supporters. And I'll
Yeah.
tell you why. It's not because I give a shit what happens to America. You can all go fuck yourselves. But it's the same way you're fucking the complete planet right now. Thanks very much for that.
You're welcome.
I come up. I meet Trump supporters in Australia from time to time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Through my
And you're
social
like,
circles, as you know, very sociable person I
very
am. Always socializing.
right.
That
That's one
10
way to put it.
minutes a week I leave my office. And
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I meet Trump supporters. And it's it's hard enough to understand, I think, why people support Trump in the United States, but it's even harder to understand why people in Australia love Trump because they stand to benefit from anything Trump may do even less than Americans stand to benefit
Right.
from anything Trump
Which
may do.
which we're currently not benefiting
Oh,
from.
are you
So
sick of benefiting? So much benefiting. You're going to get sick of benefiting. So much winning going on.
we'll see. And no disrespect intended. I don't even know who the prime minister of Australia is. There was
You know what?
Scotty from
Most of us
yeah.
don't know either. He's such a
Right.
non-entity that
Right.
most of us
Yes.
don't even pay attention. No.
Well, but and I think this is the point that you were going to make. That's the difference between Trump and other people. Trump's not just a politician, and he's barely that. He's a personality. He's a brand. He's a cult. He represents so much more than just the White
Yeah.
House and I think people glob onto that because he's so much more, and not in a good way, not in a good way, but he represents so much more.
Yeah. To me, the guy just seems utterly repulsive.
Yeah,
He's a bully. He's a rapist. He's built his career using lawyers to scare his enemies into submission. He's a con man. He's a fraudster, a liar, just constantly talks
yeah,
nonsense. Anti science, anti regulation, anti global peace.
yeah.
Um, it's like I cannot think of a single, like he's fat, he's ugly, he's
Right.
grumpy, he's
Un-
got the worst hair, the worst dress
Unintelligent.
sense.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, can I put that on a personal level? And I'll just make this real quick. I didn't write this down, but I should have. During the things, there was some social, there was a psychologist who says he never, there's no introspection. There's no him thinking about, stepping back and taking a look at himself. There's certain psychological terms, the ability to step outside of yourself and view yourself as others around you may do. There's no examination. He just goes from one crisis to the next, one diversion to the next, one con to the next. There's nothing deep in this guy. He's just a reactionary, and as we can tell with running America, generally not a good way to go. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that was more of a personal level of what you're saying. He just goes from one impulse to the other.
and yet there are people, even in Australia, who just
Love,
devoted to him, just
yes,
love him, think he's great.
yeah,
So I, I've been I've been trying to work out what's going on with these people,
yeah,
so I can understand them and have a genuine conversation with them, try and understand where they're coming from. And I know, like we said this during the presidential election cycle
hmm
year or so ago. MAGA is a broad church. One thing that he and his team have done very well, the first time, but particularly the second time, is build a broad church. So it's not one group of people with one specific ideology or one set of grievances.
yeah,
He's managed to appeal to a range of political archetypes. And the funny thing is, a lot of them have overlapping interests, but they also have conflicting interests. And
yeah.
yet he somehow managed to bring them all under a single tent. And I think that's genius, brilliant. It could be luck, could be strategy. I don't know. I don't
Probably both.
know. I don't know, who's behind it, whether it was sort of something Bannon put in place, back in 2015, 2016, or if it's something that other people have built on. But
Yeah.
the I've spent a lot of time over the last 6 months working with AI tools, reading a lot, and trying to figure out what these archetypes are. And
Hmm.
I've pegged it down to half a dozen sort of mindsets, archetypes. And I'm not saying this is definitive. I'm throwing this out
Sure.
there for debate, discussion. Like to get your
Yeah.
feedback because you obviously live in the middle of Trump heartland.
Right.
Um, See if any of this makes sense.
Well,
I've
before you go on, and I will respond to each of your things, but another way of what you just said was you've been doing research, and that's absolutely the way to go. I've just been talking to my family, and getting the information that I need because there's a lot of Trump lovers on my page. So anyway, so I will indeed try to bring a personal angle or whatever to the things that you have found through your research.
so I've come at it from a number of different approaches, and where I've ended up is
Mhm.
basing it around 9 grievances.
Okay.
So I see him as being the answer to 9 specific grievances. Now, there's a lot of nuance in this, but I'll just run through them quickly to start off with, and then I'll drill down into each one. So the
Sure.
first one is what I call the forgotten, and that's an economic abandonment grievance. The
Hmm.
second is what I call people who think it's rigged. It's a two-tier justice grievance. The third is the strangers. They have a cultural racial displacement grievance. The fourth is the captured. It's an institutional capture grievance. The
Mm.
fifth is the lied to information betrayal grievance. The sixth is the border sovereignty grievance. Seventh is the faithful religious cultural attack grievance. Eighth is the burn it down system futility grievance. Not really a grievance, it's more of a shits and giggles thing, but it fits in
Right.
somehow. And the
Right.
ninth is the deal, the strategic interest grievance.
Mm.
So
Okay.
that's the easiest. The last two are maybe the easiest to understand, but I'll start with the first one, the forgotten, the economic abandonment grievance. So
Right.
we've talked about this a lot on the show over the years. Working class America have genuine reasons to be pissed off and unhappy,
Oh yeah.
as does working class in many countries of the world, including Australia. But in America, they've seen their lives hollowed out over the last 40 years by
Hmm.
trade, by automation, and by offshoring of jobs to China and Vietnam and Mexico.
Hmm.
Policy choices that the political class told them was going to make them better off, but in fact completely screwed them in many ways. I mean, maybe in some ways they're better off. Goods and products are cheaper now than they might have been 40 years ago,
Yeah.
but also there's not a lot of money left on the table for the working classes.
Yeah.
And this is the most empirically grounded grievance, I think, out of the coalition. Sort of crosses race, gender,
Hmm.
education levels. From 1979 to 2019, real wages for non college men fell about 10%.
Wow. Yeah.
Do you classify yourself as a non college man? I know technically you went to Cornflakes College, but
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those things. You know what? I've got the sheepskin. That's all that matters. It doesn't matter what my GPA was or wasn't. We don't, negative numbers. We don't have to go into that. But
I'm a
I've got one.
non-college man. Didn't even go to
Yeah.
college,
Yeah. Well, you were too
and
busy
my
jumping. Yeah.
wages have been falling.
So, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Manufacturing employment in the US dropped from 19.4 million to 12.9 million over that period.
Wow.
There's a lot of China shock research which has documented specific counties where labor markets never recovered, particularly in the early 2000s, 2001 to 2007, where there was a huge import surge as stuff started to get manufactured more and more in China.
Yeah.
And towns that had intact communities in the 1980s have been broken by the offshoring of manufacturing. And you've seen rises in rates of meth usage, fentanyl, suicide, deaths of despair. Have you heard
Yeah.
about deaths of despair?
No, but I'm quite comfortable with the concept. No, I haven't heard that specific term. No.
It's a term that gets used in academia for this thing that's happening where people are committing suicide just because they're economically broken.
It's too hard.
Life is too hard. Yeah, relationships are broken, economically broken. They feel betrayed by the system,
Yeah.
and it's a big problem in the United States at the moment.
Could I just say real quick, and I'll make this quick because we've said this before. If you were someone listening to the show for the first time or whatever, and you're Republican and maybe you're of an advanced age, you've been Republican for decades, please keep in mind that it's not like the Chinese came in twirling their evil mustaches and stole these jobs. American corporations, they added up the numbers and they figured they could ship it out and it benefits them. So when these jobs, they weren't lost to China, they were given to China or to other places like that. So just keep in mind that, you know, we didn't do this just because we're bitching now. We're not the ones who did this. It's the business makers and the politicians from the 80s, from the 90s, and from the early 2000s who systematically sent jobs abroad.
Yeah, it was deliberate policy driven by corporations
Mm,
in the United States who are funding the political class because they saw an opportunity to make more profit, and it screwed over the working class.
yeah.
As I say, there are some benefits. Products became cheaper, but at
Yeah.
what cost?
But
The
if you
long-term
lose your
cost of
job,
that. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly.
Mm.
Sorry, go ahead.
And both parties have been part of this. It's not a Democrat or a Republican thing. They've all been on board with this because they all have the same financial backers.
Or
It's the
masters.
corporate class
Yes.
or
Yes.
masters that have been
Yeah.
funding this and funding both
Yeah.
political parties.
Yeah.
And Trump is the first national politician in a long time who's actually called this out to an extent. I
Hmm.
mean, you're not going to get any sort of deep political or economic analysis from Trump about this, but he's touching on something that people are angry. He
Yes.
he gives them feedback that he knows they're angry and that it's okay to be angry and they deserve to be angry. He will then misalign who they should be angry at. He'll blame the
Yeah.
Democrats or he'll blame immigrants. He's not blaming big corporations that have screwed these people over, the billionaire class that have screwed
His
these people
friends.
over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've got Rust Belt voters, working class voters of every race, and even Hispanics. There was a big shift in the last election with Hispanic men voting for Trump.
Yeah.
And in some ways, he actually delivered on this. They had a renegotiation of NAFTA. He did the tariffs. He started talking about Made in America. But of course, none of that has actually delivered any results. I mean, he
Right.
talked, he waved his hands about and moved a bunch of things around, and then they all fell over. He built a house of cards,
Right.
implemented a bunch of tariffs, said that that was going to make America rich and get rid of the debt and blah, 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 blah. And
Hmm.
then the Supreme Court turned around and
Said,
said, no, that's all illegal. You
yeah.
need to pay it all back. You can't do that.
Yeah. Unless you're
And
king, then
and
you can do it. Sorry, go ahead.
and there hasn't been any manufacturing recovery either. An Australian said to me the other day that onshoring was happening, but it's not happening really on scale. America has lost manufacturing jobs since
Yeah.
Trump has been president. You're not gaining manufacturing
They're not
jobs.
coming back because of what you'd have to pay Americans, right? Because of the demand of our wages. I mean, that's a simplification, but you know what I'm saying.
There have been some statements,
Hmm.
Tim Apple,
Hmm.
and people like that have come out and said, "Oh yes, yes, we're going to build wonderful, huge factories, the most amazing factories you've ever seen in America." Very little actually happens as a result of that. It's mostly just press releases, and they
Yeah.
might break some ground or start work on a factory or something, but very little is actually happening on the ground. And yeah, you got to pay wages, which means the price of those goods that are going to get manufactured there are going to go through the roof. But it's also technology set, it's a skill set. America just doesn't have the technology or the skills to build an iPhone these
Right.
days
Right.
compared to what they have in China. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on with that kind of stuff. But when you look at the hard economic numbers, it's not happening, at least
Right.
yet. A lot of
Right.
talk, very little actually happening on the ground.
Right, but you're talking about reality and numbers, something that is measurable. And as we're going to get further into this, that has very little to do with the Trump loyalists. It's all about impression, about persuasion, and mostly loyalty. But so again, you can make all the cogent arguments you can and you should, but at the end of the day, he's their guy to a degree. He's their guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, yeah, we know that, I mean, the economy over there is, by most metrics, is screwed right now. Prices are going
Yes.
up, gas prices are going up, all because he started this war with Iran.
Hmm.
The stock market, some aspect, I do a show each week about the US stock market with Tony. The
Hmm.
US stock market is booming, but it's a very small sector of the market that's doing well. It's mostly technology, high end chip, superconductor,
Right.
chip stocks, AI stocks that are doing well. The rest of the market is struggling,
Yeah.
and they call it a K-shaped economy because some things are going up and some things are going down, like
I like that.
they're part of the K.
Yeah.
But employment is essentially flat through his second term. The economy's not doing well at all. The national debt's gone up by 4 trillion. He's sinking another 500-600 million into the Pentagon budget, the slush fund that we talked about in our last episode.
Hmm.
But people don't care about that. If there's any reporting of that in the New York Times, he and his followers just say, "Oh, it's fake news." So
Yeah.
they don't really care about it. But I get that there's this working class that have genuine reasons to be angry, and he's managed to turn that into a voting block by promising that he has solutions. He doesn't have solutions, but
Right.
you know, and
Well,
anyone with half a brain would know that
yeah.
failing businessman, reality TV star is not the guy that's going to deliver complex socioeconomic solutions, but
Right, especially if it takes a long time. So the point is the I think one of the points that you're making is he's tapped into something. It got him into the White House, not once, but twice. But hopefully, as the second and hopefully last term gets longer and longer, people can see that he's not delivering. That he just said what he needed to say to get into the White House to avoid prosecution. So the real test of loyalty, or the the psychological angle of Trump voters is, as reality goes on further and further, will they ever believe the facts, the numbers that you quote, or will they keep going la 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 la? He's my guy. That's the other part of the experiment that we're going to have to live through.
and I don't want to make it sound like it's only Trump supporters that do the la 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 thing, because
Oh
I get that from
yeah,
Democrats over there
yes,
too. When we were doing shows 4 3 4 years ago, 5 6 years ago, talking about how there was no evidence to back up the Trump Russia collusion narrative, Democrats went fucking nuts on us. When we were talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, they were going nuts on us.
and that company in
Hunter,
Ukraine,
yeah, Hunter Biden's connection to Ukraine and corruption and his links to his dad and his uncle, they went
they got
nuts.
angry. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean it's this situation where you have people that just have faith in
too
their
much.
party, their politicians, the head of their party. They won't listen to reason. They don't care about reason because their identity is wrapped up in good guys versus bad guys rather than being connected to
Exactly.
facts and logic,
Yeah.
epistemology and heuristics, as I always talk about.
Right.